It really wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that 2023 was one of the worst years for superhero films we've seen. The year started off with the disaster that was Quantumania, and we closed out the year with the death of the DCEU and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Plenty of terrible movies were scattered in there, ranging from forgettable crap like Blue Beetle to nightmare fuel like the Marvels. As we all know, the opinions of fans don't mean anything these days, but if money could talk, it would be begging DC and Marvel for mercy. Companies can't afford to lose hundreds of millions every year, so things are going to change after 2023's failures. But how exactly has the genre been affected?
Let's get this over with.
The first thing is probably the most obvious. If companies aren't making money, they're going to be less willing to spend money. Disney or Warner don't spend $300 million on a movie to barely break even or make $100 million back. When they spend that kind of cash, they're looking to shatter records. Anything less than $1 billion is a clear failure to them, and 2023 was full of those. From movies that barely broke even and maybe made $100 million like Guardians 3, to historic dumpster fires like The Flash or The Marvels, it's pretty clear that right now, this genre is not generating the kinds of returns that warrant spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Hell, we've already seen multiple instances where these studios abandon marketing these movies because they've already spent too much on a film they know is going to flop.
We're not doing that anymore.
We're already seeing this play out with the upcoming Blade reboot. Setting aside the fact that production has been a nightmare, the budget is reportedly going to be $100 million. That's a massive downgrade from 2023, where all the movies Marvel put out cost upwards of $200 million. I can't even imagine the corners they're going to have to cut to make that happen. That film is definitely going to go over budget simply because Marvel's probably not used to limiting themselves like that. That being said, they're going to have to get used to those limits because good old Bobby Iger probably isn't too interested in giving Marvel the blank check he used to until they stop bleeding millions of dollars and actually start making some damn money.
What is so hard to understand about that?
The second consequence of this past year of failures has been building for a while. People are tired of Marvel and DC's confusing, interconnected crap, and they're desperately looking to get their superhero fix anywhere else. Over the years, we've seen the meteoric rise of properties like Invincible and The Boys. It seems like fans can't get enough of that stuff. The fact is, Invincible is at best a decent show, and The Boys can be pretty good at times, but there's no denying they're benefiting from how tired people are of watching DC and Marvel pump out the same generic BS every year.
The only power I have is that I believe we can do better.
There's always going to be competition, and the more other franchises succeed, the more it forces Marvel and DC to work harder. Unfortunately, we're already seeing the things that ruin those two seep into these other franchises. The Boys is going down the same crazy interconnected path that's currently ruining Marvel with all these spin-offs. Their flagship show is still obliterating anything Marvel puts out, but Gen Z came and went and absolutely nobody was talking about it, at least nowhere near the same amount as they talked about The Boys. And those two shows are going to be interconnected in a big way, so that's not a good sign. Then you throw in this rumored Mexico spinoff, and it's starting to look like Amazon is milking The Boys just like Marvel did with their Disney Plus shows, and we all know how that turned out for them.
Everything is falling apart.
This last point applies more to Marvel than DC right now, since Gunn's planned reboot hasn't really started yet. We already know that certain events that were out of Marvel's control are going to force them to change their plans. But even before that, Marvel was reconsidering their long-term plans after all the failures they've put out. All these movies have been ending with loose ends that everyone just kept assuming would be tied up in the next Avengers movies. But the more loose ends that piled up, the more it seemed like an impossible task for two movies to pull off. We're already seeing that Marvel is considering turning Secret Wars into 2 movies, and you can bet your ass they need every minute of that screen time. There's a reason Marvel's original plan to release both Avengers movies next year blew up in their faces. They can blame the pandemic all they want, but they know damn well they're in a panicked rewriting frenzy, and they need as much time as they can get to fix this mess.
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
No studio can afford to suffer through a year like 2023 unscathed. Whether it's Marvel or DC, Things are not going to be the same as they were when the whole world was captivated by the superhero genre back in 2019. People are burnt out from years of crappy movies, so they're being a lot pickier when it comes to spending their money, which means the studios are going to cut back on spending too. There's always going to be people taking advantage of opportunities like this, and we've seen those alternatives surge in popularity, but who knows how long that'll last. Marvel's scrambling to come up with a new plan after years of box office failures, since there's no way Disney is going to give them free reign on the next Avengers movies if they keep losing money like this. How long it'll take these changes to actually take effect is up for debate, but there's no debating the fact that right now, the superhero genre is a horse that even a crazed gambling addict wouldn't bet on.